So team, you are able to see my screen?
Yes, Sandeep.
Okay.
Yeah, Sandeep.
Thank you so much. Yeah. See, I believe, we'll kickstart. It's time for us to understand what is AWS all about, and what is AWS cloud, and what is the market share of AWS worldwide, and what are the AWS services, being stitched as a cloud in the cloud world, right? I mean, I could see actually Sukanya is new fairly to cloud world, and a couple of other our friends are also new, right? So cloud, basically, let's understand what is cloud. Okay, so cloud is a terminology which has been used by the industry, right, named by Gartner for a service which is offered over the internet, and it's been subscribed as a pay as you go model by the consumer. So it was so called infrastructure as a service earlier days. Actually, it was of your resources pooled together for compute, network, storage, and the related security operations, the relevant monitoring, and all those things were virtualized, and it's been given to a customer as a pay as you go model. Actually, right? So that's how the evolution of subscribing to this data center services over the internet without any limitation has started way back in early 2010, right? So AWS is one of the pioneer in the cloud world. They've started this cloud services as a leader in the market, actually, right? Let me pause here, right? So let me also take an understanding. Did anybody had a chance to look at any of the cloud console so far?
No.
None of you, is it?
Senthil, Arvind here. I had 1 year free, AWS service registered, and then also I worked with Labs, Google, Labs.
Google platform. Okay. So I think except Arvind, the rest of them are a bit fairly new to cloud. Looks like, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So let's understand the terminology of cloud itself, right? So I'll go back to some time back about how the industry was working, right? So if you take any large organization in the world, generally what they do, they actually have a data center in the premises, and then over a period of time, what has happened, the data center has been moved to a data center services company. Like in India, I could say Tata is one of the services data center company, and Airtel is offering a data center services company. Then Controllers is offering that as a services company. Globally, if you look at, there is a company called Equinix where they have a data center across the world, and Telecity, and Global Search, and AT&T, and so a lot of people actually, they are into the market of offering data center services for various customers. The large scale organization used to go and buy a small space, maybe starting with 100 square feet to a few thousand square feet, in which they try to build a cage. I mean, cage in the sense it's like a quarantined area in which the compute storage network and those sort of equipments will be put in, and it will be access controlled, and physically 24 hours it is managed, monitored, and operated, including the HVAC component and so on. See, this is how the traditional data center used to work about few years, I mean almost 10 years back. So here the challenge for us, or the challenge for the industry, right, is to the time it takes to build the sort of the landscape. So it used to take really a hell lot of time, the procurement time, deployment time, project management time. If you look at the various components, it should it does take minimum of minimum of 3 to 6 months for people to go live for any of their IT requirement as such, right? So it has been a sort of constraint for most of the industries, who are it is and wherever they are actually. There are hundreds of things to look into it. One is the physical foundation infrastructural component of it, then building the required operating system on top of it, with the support of the right virtualization tool, backup tool, DR tool, security tool, and all those things. Right? It's an engineered solution. Every engineering or every piece of engineering, used to take his own timelines, and they'll have to rely on with multiple technology architects who come with variety of experience, and it goes by sort of that, right? So this has been a hassle for people, anybody who wants to go live with the requirement of an application, right? So I believe that is where actually AWS quickly did a study to understand this market, and in fact they wanted to build a data center over the internet, so that it actually eliminates the hassle of the location. Like, it can be in the global world, it need not be only in India, right? So the power of procurement of these services been moved actually to a global scale, right? And when I remember the first and foremost data centers by AWS were put in by them in US, North Virginia, and a couple of other locations. But probably we'll look at it. Actually, we can take a look at the list of zones in which they operate, right? So the basic fundamental thing why the evolution of cloud has taken a market share, for a good reason. One is, it is available immediately, right? You can just go and provision your account on the cloud, then you're set to go, and you will be able to create your web server, app server, whatever it is. Sorry, just give me a second. Yeah. Right. So then the scale, generally the cloud providers are called hyperscalers. Hyperscalers, it means they'll be able to give you any amount of compute storage network, in a short span of time actually. And the subscription model, the subscription model is always been on the over the internet, right? So they built a right identity, access, and authentication tool on the on the landscape, so that it has become easy for cloud hyperscalers to provide these resources over the internet actually. So that's been another key element. The third one is, it is not tied in the sense contractual terms. From a data center company aspect, obviously nobody wants to give services for a day or two or a month or whatever it is, because back end they also do an investment, right? The real estate cost, power cost, cooling cost, and the required various other elements of it. The cost is really too much actually. And generally they don't entertain any enterprise customers to come in for a few months and go back. I mean, obviously it is very difficult for even enterprise customers to come and host them for a few months and go back. It is generally a contract for multi years, with respect to hosting, right? And this is pretty much the foundational components which you need to understand why cloud is evolving and why cloud is being adopted by many people actually, right? Then sort of the challenge in terms of resources, right? Once you deploy, that's fine, it has to be managed, right? Somebody have to manage and monitor and make sure it is available the way it has been, for various end users. So that's also another challenge, getting a right skilled hands and working for around the clock. That is another problem. When I mean right skills, it has got hundreds of skills actually. Windows is one skill, Linux is one skill, and your Solaris is another skill. Database, you got multiple database like Oracle, SQL, MySQL, Cassandra, whatnot, right? Operating system, from Linux perspective, you see hundreds of flavors, and obviously predominant is Red Hat and on the SUSE and Ubuntu and stuff like that. And, but the underlying infrastructure, if you look at the virtualization aspect, also has got a lot of market share, dominated by VMware. Then there are some open stack elements like KVM and Citrix, Apache, and all those things. People from the underlying of virtualization, the virtualization how to be rightly managed, and the redundancy component between these how to be managed. So these are all design elements. You can't really put a right people to do a right job to execute this project. There could be some or the other way, people can miss out this, and it can cause a sort of problem for an enterprise who can adopt the on-prem data center model. I don't mean they'll really go for bigger partner or a bigger, and right, the time in which you can go to market. been a challenge. The second aspect is the contractual terms, wherein but AWS did. The reason being is, they put a real good engineering team on top of this to develop and make sure this is user free. I mean, people can learn over a period of time. It's not that complex, component of data center they allow to manage it on the back end. See, for an example, at least 20 plus administrator have to manage a proper data center with the right technology mix. Wherein here in AWS, one guy can do the job. That is the power of transformation AWS brought to market. I mean to say, obviously the 20 people job has been taken over by one person. So it is easy for anybody to pay one person the 3% salary rather paying 20% and managing 20% on a longer run. Okay, the question is why not other cloud? Okay, so AWS is a market leader, one, and there are a lot of requirements in the industry, and a lot of organizations globally, they are fastly adapting for AWS services. And fourth, the flexibility what they built. Fifth, the technical training enablement, those things are much faster in AWS comparing to any other cloud service providers. Example, I'll tell you. IBM as a soft layer. It was an acquisition by IBM some time back, and Oracle has a fantastic cloud services, and Google, obviously, yes, Google also has a multiple a public cloud service offering. Apart from that, there are a lot of other biggies. I mean, to be honest, I hear Accenture, right? So Accenture, where Sukanya works, Accenture also runs a private cloud data center, and TCS also runs a private cloud data center, and Capgemini and Wipro and whatnot, the global SIs and global organization like Fujitsu and CGI, all these organizations, they themselves have a cloud, but that's not publicly available for anybody, everybody like AWS or GCP or Oracle or Azure, right? It is a public cloud offering. The rest of the component offered by rest of the players, the names whatever I've stated, they offer specific to the customer, which is engineered by the requirements stipulated by the end customer of them. Okay, now, so flexibility wise, like, if you are running today on AWS, there is no harm for you to move into Oracle, and there is no harm moving into Google. There is no harm moving into, any other public cloud service like Alibaba or whoever it is, right? And the operational aspect, right? If you wanted to go and adopt, so the basic fundamental questions to be asked by the enterprises are this: one, so am I going to the right cloud? If at all I'm going to the right cloud, what is the cost in which I'm going to buy these services? Okay, I bought it. Do I have a right sufficient people who can manage it? Right? And fourth, how well these guys are secured, and how many compliance are they meeting from the industry aspect of it? And fifth, how reliable they are. It is available today, it is not available tomorrow. That should not be the case. And what would be the ideal SLA in which these guys are operating it, right? And then how scalable it is. That's a basic qualities an enterprise would look for. So within this measuring parameters, they would look at Azure or AWS or Google. If you look at actually now, the last 1 year or something, actually the competition is among only these three players. Either AWS takes over or Azure takes over. Azure has taken over a large contract from US Pentagon, which is multi-billion dollar project, and AWS could not grab it. Does that answer your question, Prasenjit?
Yeah, I think ultimately, because all those big players, whether AWS or Azure, none, right? So ultimately, it comes down to the cost of implementation and all, right? So
look, one is the resource cost, and second is the resource. One is the cloud computing resource, the infra resource cost, and the people cost, operational cost, SLA cost, and then the territory in which the data centers off on AWS or off on Azure lies in. Actually, so suppose you have a customer who is looking to adopt for cloud services. who's in US, and obviously, they will not look for a data center of AWS hosted in India because of latency, right? Sometimes AWS presence or AWS zones also become the sort of selection parameter.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other question from anybody, please?
Yeah, Senthil, Ajit here.
Ajit, yeah.
So I read, I heard about this managing and monitoring the in-house data center. So when we move to cloud, I can understand managing is gone to AWS. How about monitoring your infrastructure? That still will be done by us? Because that I think will be some additional effort which kind of application team has to take care, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So let me answer that actually. So what happens when you move into AWS? See, then there is a shared responsibility between the customer as well as the service provider. See, that is where the terminology of infrastructure as a service comes into picture and plays a key role of a definition. What AWS does, what customer is expected to do to run the show on a longer run. If AWS does everything, then I don't think so. We will all be required to learn about this, right? AWS does not own most of the things. One is the design parameter, the resilient parameter, performance parameter, the security parameter from an external internal perspective. But yeah, some extent they also manage it. What they do really is they will make sure the workload or resources what has been provisioned by AWS is available. They will take care of anything from the hypervisor and below. Means, so VMware is one of the hypervisor for an example. So I'm not sure like somebody know about virtualization or no, but I'll just touch a bit about it, right? The early days, we used to have one single server. We will run one single operating system on top of it. That operating system or the workload may use 70-80% of the CPU, or it may use 7-8% of CPU. Right, but that has been a challenge for quite a while, and that is where VMware has come into market, and it pulled a resource. Like multiple servers can be grouped together in a single pane of glass, where the multiple server CPUs and memories can be used by virtualizing the physical component. Right, so that is where the effective utilization of CPU memory has kicked into the market. So that is something which is called virtualization layer, and predominantly it is defined as an hypervisor. Actually, hypervisor is where actually you can do a slicing dicing of your multiple virtual machines on a single compute node. Right. So what happens in the backend? The multiple compute which is connected to the grid of compute, whether the hardware is available, storage is available, CPU is available, network is available. From a physical aspect of it, whatever they need to do, they will do it, and they will manage the virtualization so that it is available, right? As long as it is available and you are going to pay for it, it is pay as you go, right? If you don't use, then you don't have to pay. So that's a a design principle from a financial aspect of AWS. And once you spin up a virtual machine on top of the hypervisor, then the responsibility kicks in for a customer. So operating